Okay. Hey, Prince, welcome.
Yes. Well
Yeah,
done.
Prince.
Good to
Good to
see
see
you.
you again. Yeah, good to see you again. Yeah, man. Just wanted to find out from. I know, like when I met at the time, when we met, I think you were playing for Guys in Sweden. Yeah, but I think a lot of times people see Nigerian players in Europe doing well, like yourself. You had a pretty good career. But what was your experience? Because I know you played for Berger in Lagos, and what was the experience at Berger, and then how did you then transition from Berger to Italy at the time?
Actually, I started with Judas Berger feeders and in the 90s actually, and Berger as the A team in general. They were one of the richest teams then, sponsored by Judas Berger company. And so the sponsorship was coming directly from Germany. It was a team that was very robust when you come to financial aspect of it. So they, it was, it's actually a rosy period. And so the facilities in Begaya, the training pitch, the dressing room, the shower room, everything was top class, was class. And so they decided to get a yoga feeders team and to follow the European method, you may say. And so they got about 300 to 300 to 400 young kids came together and they did screening. And so we were there from the very day one until the final screening. So at the end of the day, we got to 25 players. And so those 25 players started the feeders team. And that was the first time because Vega had a feeders team in history. And so I was part of those feeders team. And the feeders team, to be very honest, was an extraordinary feeders team. The potential in that feeder team was top class because we were young, and this young group of players were players that were supposed to actually be playing in professional teams, but because everybody wanted to get connected to the European team, you understand what I mean? And
Yeah.
also a team that is well organized because then Jamaica was the top team in Nigeria. So we all suddenly find ourselves there. And I remember those days we used to play friendly games every time with our A team, every Thursday. But by the time we played for we played the first time, the second time, by the time we were able to play the fourth or fifth game, they had to stop it because we were actually troubling our A team, and then we make it easy for them. So because they have no talent, and I remember those days, some of those older guys they would talk to me, if you come near my son, I'm going to kick you now. You understand those words? So they threatened us, and the game had to stop because the coach was actually trying to fix those games so that we can the team can score a lot of goals against us and they can use us to practice their tactics, but it wasn't working. We were rather having given them problems, so it became a problem to them. And at the end of the day, it stopped. So later on, we won the Oba Cup for the first time in history. A young team, Fidas team won an Oba Cup in Lagos, which was a very important cup in Lagos. And some of us were promoted to the A team. And that was when I actually left the team because I want to play national team in Nigeria. So they forced me to sign. I refused to sign and let Chifidema order them to stop me from training. And so I had to leave Julius Berger.
I see. So how did you play with Yakubu Aigbeni?
Yeah, who came actually when I left.
Okay. So you are ahead of him.
Yes, so I played together with Ami Ambwe, with Momodu Mutairu, people like Edema Fulubu, yeah, and all these guys were, yes. So they were much older, Monday at one time,
Yeah.
yes, and etc. James Enaguna, the late James Enaguna.
Oh, nice. How did they scout you in Lagos? Did the Berger have specific coaches that were able to scout? Were all the coaches Nigerian or were some of them German?
Uh, Actually, I would have left. I would have been away from Nigeria since '91. I remember vividly. during my days in Bega, a guy came, I actually forgot his name. He was playing then in Belgium. And he watched me play with the feeders team. And he said, who is this guy? So our Coach Faraway, told him that this is a talented young player. And in fact, the teams are looking for him. He is one of the target players that his potential is actually very, very a young talented player. So what the guy did was that he gave me his address to come look for him. And to be very sincere, I was, a lot of things. I had so much pressure as a young boy, so much pressure, and sometimes I get confused because this will tell me that, and that will tell me this, and this will tell me that. I was actually confused, and I missed actually the date he gave me as an appointment to meet with him. And by the time I went to him, he's gone back to Belgium.
Wow. Wow.
And 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 they told me it was just hanging there. It was just like an hotel where nobody address, not like we have on social media. You can use the name and then go to social media and track someone. So it wasn't like that those days. And then I looked at opportunity. So then I met this guy. If I tell you the way I traveled was a very was actually very strange experience, but a very interesting story as well too. I was a very good friend with Azubike Olise, who is the younger brother to Son Olise. And so we were together with Julius Berger Feeders, together with Amunike, Kingsley Amunike, who is the younger brother to Emmanuel Amunike. And so we were all in the team. So we were well, I mean, the team is well packed. I mean, compacted. I mean, potentials, real dedicated and disciplined young raw talent. And so one day we came, we had issues, as young boys, we do yap, like make jokes of ourselves and things like that. And so he had this spot in his face, this black spot. And so normally when young players we come together like that, the feeders team players will say, oh, the bed had a sheep on his face. And so one day he's my friend. So I said, oh, the bed sheep on your face. And so he took it very serious and was very, very angry with me and refused to speak to me for like completely 2 months. And I persisted to bring back our relationship. He insisted. And then I finally just gave up. So one particular day I came with a donut. We call it pop in Nigeria, a donut. I came with a donut, so I had 2 donuts. So I was very hungry, and I was not sure of my lunch. So that was my breakfast and my lunch. So I ate one, and something was speaking to me, like give the other one to Azubike Olise. And I insisted. And I had the voice telling me again, I insisted. I had the voice telling me for the third time. And I had to stretch the donut to him. And when I was stretching it to him, my body language showed him that I didn't want to give it to him. So I was like, I didn't want him to take it, with my body language. So I stretched to him. He finally took the donut and ate it. By the time he finished, he said, what am I doing this evening? He had to whisper to me, he said, what are you doing this evening? And we were like 65 players right there in that time. And I said, why? He said, because my brother sent a scout this evening to come pick players.
Wow.
And I'm like, yes, and I'm like, Azuke, if this is a joke because of the donut I give you, please, this is an expensive joke. Don't take this as a joke. And he said, no, it's not a joke. And that was how I went to Federal Housing Authority, FHA, investor that evening.
Wow.
It was 4 p.m. I was there 2 p.m. because I'm always punctual when it comes to football matters. I was 2 p.m. I was there. So 3 p.m. nobody was there. The whole field was counting. So I said, "Oh, Azubike," I said in pidgin English, "Azubike, don't play wayo because of my football." So which means he's actually tricked me. So, but at 3:55, I saw the gate open and a little Beatles car, small Beatles car, drove in. And when the car drove in, a white man came out, and that's where the bigger brother to son Ulisse, Church Ulisse, came out too. The whole field that was county, suddenly from nowhere, people start rushing in. People start coming in from nowhere, players, and the whole field was packed, close to like 200 players. I was very worried. I was frightened a little bit. I'm like, 200 players. How am I going to get a starting list? How am I going to play? How are they going to see me? 200 talent. And then the same Azubike ran to the bigger brother and whispered to the one that is older than Sonny and said, "This is my very good friend. His name is Ikpe Ekong. He's my best friend." And then Tochi came to me and said, "My brother said you're his best friend." I'm like, yeah. And that was how I got the spot to play the first 11 to be selected to play against the other team. And that was how I was scouted, and that was how I left Nigeria.
Wow. Yes. So now Puff save you.
Puff. Just a little kindness.
Wow, that's a hell of a story, man. I swear. That's an amazing story. So okay, so you get selected. So when the guy selected you, did they set up a trial at Reggiana in Italy?
I was supposed to actually immediately go to, before this trial matter, when like I told you, when I stretched my hand to give him the donut, deep inside of me, I think God saw my heart, but my arrogance was displayed. People use words like give with a cheerful heart. There are some givings that doesn't come with a cheerful heart. There are sometimes you give and you're giving something out. You're not actually cheerful, but you just gave obedience. You gave out of concern. Mm-hmm. Somehow, and I think that was what actually happened. I gave with obedience, and when he ate it, I felt it, because now I felt remorseful. I felt concerned. Oh, he's not eating. Oh, he's hungry. I never knew. I thought a player like him, who is the younger brother to son Ulisse, must have eaten breakfast. So, I felt concerned. And that is what God saw. He sees our heart, not just our actions behind it. And so like I said, I was selected. I go back to the story now, selection. I was selected, and then 6 other players were selected. And these 6 other players were told to come to the next day for another trials to be seen again. But I myself was taken directly to Boma Hotel, which is called Golden Tulip today in Festac.
Yeah, I know Golden Tulip. Yeah.
Yes, Golden Tulip. It's called Boma Hotel formally. And I was taken to the hotel directly where the white man is, and we sat down and he told me, "I'm supposed to go immediately to white man in Belgium. But the manager will prepare my documents and then bring me in the summertime, where the weather is friendly, and so I will not have a problem for the trials." And I said, okay. So when he left, Boma, you will not believe, my spot was used for another person.
Wow.
Yes, I stayed in Nigeria for another 3 years.
Wow.
And the reason I stayed in Nigeria for another 3 years was that teams were looking for me because of my talent. But this same agent told me, never you sign any professional team. If you do, you will not go to Europe. So you see, I had to sacrifice my professionalism in Nigeria as a player for my future in Europe. So these 3 years, you can imagine the pain, the torment, financial lack, and all these pains that I went through as a young boy. I had teams promising, showing me money, giving me flight money to come down and take sign-on fee. 300,000 then in the 90s, it's like having 300 million instantly today. You understand? So, but I refused all this money because I was so determined for my future as a professional player. But eventually, 1995, I played Ajegule Mock Nations Cup. So he later saw in the newspaper that I won the best player as a young player. I won the best player in Ajegule Mock Nations Cup. So he actually came for me this time around, not Belgium any longer, This time around, Sunday was playing for Regina, and Regina went from Serie B to A. And then when Sunday was gotten in the team, they were
No,
relegated.
Sunday Olise.
Yes, Sunday Olise was the first player who played for Regina. So they were relegated from Serie A to Serie B. So Sunday had to go on loan to Ajax. So they needed a replacement, another Nigerian to replace Sunday in the midfield. So Regina had to send their sport director to Nigeria to scout the home-based Super Eagles. Home-based Super Eagles. And so matured home-based Super Eagles. So I wasn't in the plan actually, because they were looking for a matured home-based Super Eagles, not a young player. So while they came, they invited people like Johnny Okon, Precious Moye, Lucky Sibo. These mature players were invited to play. So the team was not complete. They went, 11 it was, I think they were supposed to play a friendly match against First Bank. So the team was not actually completed. So they had to call me to complete the team. So while I came to complete the team, there was a video. They recorded the game, and the video went to Italy. So when the video got to Italy, that was when Carlos Ancelotti requested for this very young boy, because I was the one who scored the goal against First Bank. So this time around, there was nothing to do. I was requested for, and they said I'm a young boy, and Carlos said he doesn't care. And they said I'm a young boy, and Carlos said, okay, I want the older ones plus him. So that was how I was requested for. My document and all necessary traveling documents were sent.
Wait. So Carlo Ancelotti handpicked you on video he watched.
Yes. Wow. And he gave me the contract when I came down to Italy after he watched me. He watched me for 4 days and he gave me a contract. In training. Yes, my trial was supposed to be for 1 month, but they watched me for 4 days. Only after 4 days, they made a decision.
Wow. Let me ask you, how are you so talented? In the sense that, was the coaching in Nigeria different at the time? Because when you think about it, a young player at that time, compared to, I'm not trying to say anything about the players today, but compared to today, is a little different. Back then you had real clubs. That's why I was even surprised that you didn't take those offers, because there was insurance of Benin. There was the Bedell insurance that time. There was NMB. Rangers was Rangers. You had Sharks. You had all these teams, and they were actually after you, and you didn't sign with any of them. And then your video gets to Italy, and Carlo Ancelotti, he has Champions League under his belt, handpicked you and said, so you must have had that talent and skill and technical ability while you were in Nigeria. So what was your development like when you were coming up as a player? Did you have special coaches that were able to teach you all these things? Or
the thing was mastery in football. As a young boy, I started playing football at a very tender age. From age 6, I played for my primary school. And not today. Like today, the private schools have taken over the government schools, and so today we don't find young kids playing football any longer in school. The private schools don't have enough the space. There's not enough space for such activities any longer. But those days we went to government school and we had space. And so I was playing football during the break time, and I played from my primary school. I was not only playing football, but also playing handball. Handball also helped me for my dribbling skills and my faking skills. I was playing handball. I was very good in handball. I was also very good in table tennis, and I was also a long distance runner. I'm very good in 200 meters. So I was very athletic. In football, I was mastering because my father was an ex-football player, and so I played football with passion. So every day that I was playing football, I learned and I improved, and my discipline in football helped me so much that even I started as a street football, and from street football to club football. I remember the first time I was selected in a main club. It was a very famous club that every young player dreams to play in the future, and it was called Eze Boys. Now, Eze Boys were bigger boys, and then we young boys will just play on our side, and then before Eze Boys start their training 4 p.m., and then we'll now clear the space for them, and then they start their training. So this very particular day, before they started their training, so they were just changing, and the coach was close by. And I just told my friends, let's go and do some corner kicks and do some small entertainment before these bigger guys will come in. And something in me said to me, by the time you impress, this coach will call you to come join them for training. So we started doing like set pieces, set pieces, corner kicks and all that. So they had this corner kick that was taken by a friend, and I made a bicycle kick, a fantastic bicycle kick, and the ball went straight into the net. And every of these bigger guys, they go like, wow, who is this? And the coach said, who are you, young boy? And I said, my name is Ikpe. And he said, come. Say, how old are you? I told him, very young boy, very, very young. And he said, today, get your boot and you train with us. So you can see my mastery in football was everywhere I was playing. I was noticed immediately. So that was how I started to play for AZ Boys, even as the youngest player in the team. And I got number 10 shirts. So the mastery, the desire, the determination, the passion was really exceptional.
No, absolutely. That's I could tell you there's definitely had to be a passion there for you to have, played as much as you played and trained as much as you trained every single day, 2 or 3 times a day sometimes. So yeah. So let's travel to Italy right now. So you get signed by Reggiana, by Carlo Ancelotti. Now you're now on that team. What was it like being coached by Carlo Ancelotti in Italy?
And it's amazing because that period he actually quitted his career not so long years ago, because he was a very, he played for the Italian national team. He was a technical player and very creative player. So he knows when Carlos sees a creative player, he knows. And so and he was born and raised up in Reggio Emilia, where Reggiana is. That was his hometown. So Reggiana gave him the first opportunity to have to become a professional coach after getting his license. So Reggiana was the first club he coached as a professional. So from that moment, he started to display his coaching abilities. And immediately, he took the club from Serie B, he took them to Serie A.
Wow.
He took them from Serie A to Serie A. And then when he came from Serie B, that was just one thing. That was how he led to power. And that was his acceleration. So he saw me, and like I said, I had 1 month trial. 1 month trial. As a young boy, determined from Africa, you're like, oh God, I just want to make this try. I don't want to go back to the suffering life. And those sufferings and those hard times in Africa. Of course, the first week was I was frustrated a little bit, because I came to a land that the language is different. They don't speak English. I had no siblings, no friends. I was just alone. And left me a villa where other young kids are. And these kids don't speak English. I was very lonely for the first week. And after 1 week, I said to myself, this is too much. I feel like going back home. But I had to speak to myself and encourage myself, motivate myself as a self-motivator that this is what you always wanted. Will you want to go back and go back to the same level that you were before as a young boy, or you want this stage? And I had to take that challenge. And after 3 months, I found an Italian family, and the father was a police, and with their young daughter, where I go and relax and play basketball, was a very close by. And so she comes there and play basketball, and then she was very friendly. And then she introduced me to a family, and the father was a police, and so they welcomed me and they took me like a family. And suddenly, my loneliness disappeared.
Wow. Yeah, they're good people all over the world. I mean, so that experience that made you feel more comfortable on the footballing side. How did you transition into the team at Reggiana and everything else? Because I know Regina eventually, I don't know if it was after Ancelotti left, but they sent you on loan, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason they sent me on loan was then in Italy we have Serie A have three foreigners sport.
Okay.
Serie B had two foreigners sport. And Serie C had just one foreigner sport.
Okay.
So the reason they sent me on loan because they are three foreigners. And there are people like Adolfo Valencia from Colombia, who was Colombia national team top striker. And there are people like Igor Simutenkov, who was the Russian national team top player. So they
Yeah.
have foreigners. And these players were already in the team. They're having a contract before I came as a young boy. So now they see a young player that is very talented, that has a future. And so what they wanted me to experience was they sent me, instead of not being able to keep me, they signed me and sent me on loan. So by the time they were able to sell one of these foreigners, I can come, I
Yeah.
can come to the team. So, but when they sent me on loan, Regina went down to Serie B. By the time I came back, two foreigners. So you see, I had to go back again on loan. So this time around, when I came for the first season, and then I had to stay. I had to stay the team, and I discussed with the president that um, I have a resident and working permit, and a working permit entitles me to work, which means it says a working permit. So when you have a working permit, it means that you can work in the country. So as a sportman, specifically characteristically football player, and I have a
Yeah.
work permit, so I should be football is my work. So why am I then not working? So when I said that, the president was like, wow, how did you come up with this? This is wise. This is something we can fight for. And immediately we got our team lawyer and we filed a case to the FA. And when we filed a case to the FA, guess what? People like
Well,
Milan and AC Milan and Inter Milan, they had so much foreigners and they couldn't use them. So they like supported me. They said, yes. So they sent their players back to
and then you guys won, right?
So I won the case, and that's why you see Italians, big teams like AC Milan and Inter Milan were able to use so many foreigners, 10 foreigners at the same time, and that's why
Wow.
People like George Weck, the president, His Excellency of Liberia, can't forget me because that was one of the openings for him to be able to play as a foreigner.
I
And in fact,
see.
there are some people that were trying to do some deal with Liberia and they're trying to get hold of him. They couldn't. So they finally came to me and I said, we are friends. I know him. We played together in Italy. And through me, they got to him. And when they spoke to him, he heard my name. He said, yes, I know him. And he begins to tell them my story and everything. And so these guys were like shocked, like, oh, you know His Excellency. So these things make a lot of players to have respect for me because it was an open door for them.
Anyone that knows about Reggiana, right?
Yes.
With especially with Super Eagles football, they know Martins and I think
Yes.
Makinwa, right? So you were there when they came in, right?
Yes, I was there. Actually, I was like a big brother and a father to all of them. I was a big brother, like a father to all of them because when they came in, I actually took them in and gave them advices and helped them to settle in. You understand? Not only them, so many people, even much older guys that came, people like Dosun Joseph, who later had an accident. Dosun came after me, people like Jerusha Koke, people like Marshall Umbre, people like Benjamin Owaji, who played for Juventus, people like
Yeah.
Ali, who played for Inter Milan. So there's so many players, people like Ayodele Makinwa, all of them. I was actually the young player, the first young player that opened the door and kept it open for Nigerian players to be able to skate through.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing. A lot of players came through that team. And
Yes.
and and, and they all
22 Nigerian players.
22.
22 Nigerian players.
So let me ask you
Yes.
this: for all these players that come through that team, right? They
Yes.
play for the team, they do well. The team ends up Regina ends up selling those guys to other
Yes,
clubs, right?
that was the transition. The transition was to bring them, not to play for the team, to bring them, develop them, and then sell. They just bring them, develop them, send them on loan, and then sell them.
And so they made a lot of money from the
So much,
Nigerian players there.
so much money they made. So much money they made. And there was a young, I'll tell you the story of Obafemi Martins. Martins, and I will boldly say it today. Martins did not know his his the secret of his acceleration in Regina. And I'm going to tell him, but of course I can say it to you today. You're privileged, you've been you've been an old time friend. So it's not things that I say every now and then. I remember vividly when they come, not just helping them as a big brother, I was also mentoring them. You see, young players need mentorship. And I also remember vividly when they came, they had this enthusiasm of 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 success immediately. And then some agents were promising them that they should go cancel their contract with Regina and go back to Nigeria and they will bring them back. And I told them that if you do that, you will go back and you will never return again. And that will be the end. And I advised them, I asked them, while you guys were in Nigeria, your boys' club, how much do you earn? They told me, bros, nothing. And I said, now you are earning 1,000 euros and you felt that it's too small for a young player that you are not under 18. What do you see? You should see a platform, you should see a place where to develop, where to grow and be patient and then spring yourself. And I gave them a counsel and make them settle down. And I remember they stopped the city that they were about to do at very moment. I can't they can't. So was playing not for the reserve team, was playing for the under 16. Under 16 is called Alievi, which is the next after the reserve team. Alievi is called. And he scored 32 or 34 goals.
Wow.
Already before the season was over. He was extremely fast, but he was less technical and very it was totally a mess in tactical aspects. But he was extremely fast and explosive. So he ran past all his mates and then just shoot. So we were struggling. We were struggling that period for relegation, and the coach was in a deep mess, and I was the captain of the team. So the coach called me and sat me down and said, in 2 weeks, he's going to be facing the officials of the team, the administrators, and that they've prepared a sacking letter for him. So, but he has only 2 weeks. How can he rescue this team in 2 weeks? 2 weeks is too small. So I told him, I said, Coach, one of the challenge that I see in our team is that we have a good team, but our strikers they are quite unexperienced strikers that have played Serie A, they play big teams, but they are so lazy. They are too old to run. So they were 35 years old, 34 years old strikers. So they don't run. Even if they run, they don't run all the time because they are the edge of their retiring. So we need someone with speed, someone that will run for 90 minutes, that will run the defense for 90 minutes. And the coach said, who? And I said, the coach said, we don't have anyone. I said, yes, can I make a suggestion for you? And he said, yes, willingly. And I said, Obafemi Martins. The coach almost slapped me. And he said, what are you saying? I'm going to lose my job if I bring him here. I'm going to lose my job. And I said, Coach, your job is already at stake. You're already going to lose your job. So the only thing you do right now is to do a magic. Right now, you need a solution that will impress your team. You just need to rescue yourself. And I explained to him, I said, do you know how fast Martins is? And so the coach said, okay, I've heard about him, but I've not seen him. So they invited Martins for our Tuesday training because our games were on Saturday. So he invited him for our Tuesday training. When the balls dropped behind the defense, before the defense turned, Martins has gone. On Thursday training, the defenders, I remember the defender said it in Italian. Direto fratello, it's like come and say no to picchiano, which means tell your younger brother to stay calm, otherwise we are going to kill him. So Martins was running them, and I told Martins, take it easy and reserve your running for the match because these are your teammates. So Martins said, okay, bros. So the coach came to me after the Thursday training and said, this guy is a car, actually. He's moving like a car. This guy is fast. And the coach said, do you think he's going to go well in the game? And I said, coach, every time we play a game, the opponent, they pressed us right from the beginning. If we put the ball behind the defenders and Martins run faster than them, they will not have the strength to press us any longer. They will back out because the midfield will fall back and then the strikers will fall back. Tactically, it's normal. And the coach said, it makes sense. So on Saturday game, they slotted Martins in. First 11, starting list. I'm telling you, the players were angry and they planned to cook for that coach. If he had gone wrongly, it would have been, myself, it wouldn't have gone well. They actually planned, but you see, I did this because we needed a rescue for the team. It was for the team. It was for myself and the team. But those guys were not happy because one of them has to sit on the bench. So the first 15 minutes, Martins ran the whole defense. He missed 7 goals in 60 minutes. 7 goals one-on-one. He ran past the whole defense and missed 7 goals he missed. He did not get the back of the net. So they changed him 70 minutes. And another striker came in. But because we've been pressing this team because of Martin's speed from the beginning, the team lost their confidence.
Yeah, they were done. Yeah.
So that was how we got to win that game 1-0. The next day we stepped up immediately from the relegation zone. So the next day I went to the newspaper. We had this Gazzetta dello Sport, Corriere dello Sport, that you see your point and your score and etc. etc. And the Gazzetta dello Sport and Corriere dello Sport will record from Serie A, Serie B, Serie C1, Serie C2, and even Serie D. They put it in the newspaper because football is, people worship football in Italy. It's people love football with all their heart. It's a religion, football. People go to the bar, they talk about football. They sit in restaurants, they talk about football. They walk on the street, they talk about football. So when you're a football player, you're extremely famous. So by the time I opened the newspaper, Corriere dello Sport, I opened the middle page, I saw Martin's picture. Inter Milan looking for Martins. And that was the last game Martins played for Regina.
Wow. When you were in Italy, what was it like from sometimes there was a time where you would watch Italian games and you would see, the racist chants, with Balotelli and all these things that were going on. What was your experience like on that end? Did you have a similar experience, or was it different for you?
You see, I think in the civic life, racism is everywhere. Even in Africa, we have what we call tribalistic, placement, where the Igbos, some Igbos have problem with Yorubas and Yorubas with Igbos and all that, etc., etc.
Yeah, 100%.
And one thing I always tell players as a mental coach now is that players should focus in what they're doing at the moment. When we keep focusing on the fans, because you see, fans, they are, before they come to stadium, they get drunk. Some of them take drugs. Some of them, they are die-hard fans. Die-hard fans are people that are ready they do anything for their team. So they are out there to irritate you. They are out there to get on your nerves. They are out there to make you get angry. So most times when it's not going well for them, they say foul words to you. They say foul words to you to get you irritated, to just get you out of position. And it happens everywhere. Everywhere it happens. But you see, there are people that condone their nations, they condone it, and now penalties have been, FIFA have put penalties on these issues like this, and so teams are able to speak to their fans and their public to maintain, order. But I faced it too. Whenever I'm doing very well, whenever my team becomes a threat, whenever, especially player like me, when I'm doing extremely well, you see people trying to say some racist words. But I guess, it's very, I understand very well that it is very annoying. It's very annoying. But I just ignore and focus on what I actually came to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's a stain on the sport that needs to be eradicated.
Mm.
So I know you joined the 2004 AFCON. What was that like? Did Coach Chuku call you up and just
Yes,
ask you to come?
yes. Uh, I was invited. Long before 2004, 1997, with Coach Sinclair, the home base team that, and some few professionals like Kenneth Ezebo and
Mm-hmm.
Chukundukwe, we went to play against Zambia. I was discovered by Coach Sinclair. Sinclair vowed. I remember Sinclair said he's discovered a young. I know Coach Sinclair is a man, a coach that likes technical players, players that are very progressive, players that are business-like. He likes those kind of players. And when Sinclair saw me after the friendly match against Zambia, he made a public announcement about me and spoke so well of me. And I was expecting to join the team for France '98, but immediately weeks after, Coach Sinclair was sacked.
Wow.
Yes, he was sacked, and that was my chance, young boy, of not making the team '98. And then 2000, I was invited again. I did so well in the camp, and they called me the revelation of the team, Coach Shaibu. They
Yeah.
called me the revelation of the team. And we were training in Otta. We had a 1 month pre-season training before African Nations Cup. The fans, the journalists, all journalists and all fans will remember this. In Otta, people were coming to watch live and everybody testify of my performance. I was the revelation for the team. But they had to drop me for political issues. Now, where did they drop me? They were supposed to drop me in Nigeria. They took me all the way to Abidjan to drop me there so that there will not be commotion. There will not be chaos in
Yeah.
Lagos. So they
Yeah.
flew me with the team to Abidjan and dropped me in Abidjan. So 2002, the same team. But 2004 made it very plain that I was very determined. I came to the camp early enough, and the first list was released, and my name was not there. And I remember a guy called me from US and said, "I know you are a faith. You're someone with faith. I know you're somebody who actually you believe in what you do, but your name is not there." I said, "Wale, I don't care. This year, 2004, I'm gonna be in this team." And suddenly, someone and came to the hotel in Faro, called me out, and said there was a man in the NFF and did not disclose his name. He made it plain and known to them that if Ekong is not in that list, everybody should take their bag and leave Faro. To this day, I do not know who was that man, but they fought for me because they know that I deserve it. And Christian Obodo was taken out from the list, and my name was, yes, I replaced Christian Obodo. And I remember Christian was disappointed, and I told him, I said, "Christian, I've been coming to this camp since 2000. Go, your own time is coming." And
And his
eventually,
time came. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. That is crazy. And so, what position? I think they brought you in as a holding mid, right? Or were you a central mid?
yes,
Yeah.
a sitting midfielder.
Yeah. 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 That's,
Yes.
that's wow. And what was the experience like at that AFCON? That 2004.
I will tell you. I'll tell you. Should I be honest with you?
Yeah, be honest. Be honest. I know the squad you were with. So you had I think Utaka was there. You had Okocha. You had Odemwige. You had a lot of notable players on that squad.
Let me be Philly. I proved myself in that camp right from Faro, from day one, because most professionals don't really come early. They allowed some of the home base that are selected and some of the new young professionals newly selected to come to camp early, and then some of the bigger boys do come to camp 1 week or some days before the tournament. And I was from day one, I was there for 1 full month. You can imagine 1 full month proving to coaches in training, being outstanding for 1 full month. I was outstanding for one complete whole month. And then someone came to me, I will not say his name, and said, "Who is your manager?" I said, "My manager is Godom Stipik, a German man." And I was very candid, being plain, feeling open. And the guy went to the coaching crew and related to them. He must have told the coaches, this guy was an agent that was known then. He used to come to camp and try to manage some of the players. And so he was literally friend to the administration. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So he went and discussed with them that he had an agent. From that day, they began to behave so funny to me.
Are you serious? Wow.
It was so funny to me that I almost cried one day when I was coming in against Nigeria against Benin Republic. Indiana was taken out. I was going in, and my coach told me, "Don't go in there and do those your skills. Just go and play like he's playing." And I said to the coach, "If you want me to go and play the way he's playing, why do you then change him?" That was what I said to him. So you can see the frustration. There's so much conspiracy, so much corruption, and that's why our football, rather than growing, is dying. I understand. I understand Europe. I understand how coaches like some players, but you see, what European coaches do is that they 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 invest their time and their finances on players that they know that is better. And what they do, they support those players. But these ones they are rather to take an handicap just to fill in their pockets. And it's so bad, conspiracy.
But you know what, Prince? In my business, of course, I've heard these things so many times with so many different players that have said, "Hey, look, I would be on the U17 or the U20 right now if I did X, Y, and Z." But of course, with a lot of these things, there's no evidence. So, I mean, how rampant from your experience you think this thing is? You think is very bad in of course we can talk about Nigerian football.
People when you talk about this, what most of the coaches, most of them will say, let them show us evidence. I'm in a group. I'm in a group of ex-players where when things like this is brought up and people will say, show us evidences. We want to see evidence. The truth is that everyone know the truth. Everyone knows the truth, and they know what they've done. And I said it one day openly to them. I said, stop asking for evidence. Rather, repent The word repent is a Greek word that calls metanoia. It means to change your thinking, the way you think. Change the way you think. So we need to repent. We need to change the way we think. We need to change our constitution. We need to change our approach, the way we approach football, the way we see football. We the money behind it, we have to change the approach totally. And by the time we do that, then we'll be able to lift up grassroots very well and begin to place Nigeria where Nigeria is supposed to be. In Africa, it's unspeakable. I'm telling you, it's absurd. It's a mind blowing. It's evil. It's evil. There are people, they go there, they just go there to just enrich themselves. How long are we going to do this? Let me tell you what European people take good players, vie for the best players, and then have a good relationship with them. Have a good relationship with their agent. You don't need to make an official contract. Have a good relationship with your agent, and those good players that you promote, that excel in their career, you will not need to request. They are going to reward you. They will reward you much more than the peanut that you are looking for. Imagine, Boma, imagine a coach who gives me an opportunity and I start signing multi-million dollars contract, and I know that coach is involved in my career. What do you think I will do with those coaches? Of course, I'm going to take care of them.
Yeah.
So you understand? I've seen people like Victor, people I don't want to mention names. I've seen in the national team where players are telling coaches, "I pay for your children's school fee. I pay this. You can't. You can't. You have no right to tell me you can't play me." You understand? So these are the things. I understand that part of helping people financially, but we need to stop the conspiracy. We need to stop. People might listen to this and they will not like it, but that's just the truth. And
it's your experience, you know. Who cares? They don't like it. It's your experience.
Yes, and I don't want to mention it because I don't like to ridicule people.
Yeah.
I don't like to ridicule people. I believe in. I believe people should reflect, think back, and correct their mistakes. And that's why we're saying things like this. And until this is dealt with, until this we consider this and begin to look through it, it's just going to be like throwing water in a basket.
You know, and there was recently an article that came out on Chinedu Obuke. You know Chinedu?
Yes.
Nigerian player, he played at Schalke and some other places. And he made the same claim about the 2014 World Cup, why he wasn't selected, you know, for the World Cup. And he said it was because he refused to grease pockets in the article. You know, so you know, it's not the first time anyone has said anything like this. You know, we've heard it several times. And you know, I think the people in charge need to take a look at that and figure out how to correct it. As a matter of fact, a couple of years ago, I don't know if you recall, there was an investigative journalist that recorded the coach for the home-based Eagles, you know, requesting cash. So
yes,
that was caught on camera.
Yeah, breakdown and deterioration attitude.
Yeah.
Deterioration attitude. Yeah, they should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of themselves because they are disgracing the Nigerian national team. They're disgracing the nation as a whole. I mean, it comes to that place where my player will ask my player, one of my player that I sent to the national team, you can imagine he was requested to pay visa fee. As it come to that stage, it becomes that is that so?
Nah, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. You know, we have to fight it. You know, something that because we have to get better. Football is a strictly merit-based system. If you're good and you show you're better than the next man, you should play. Period. There's nothing else where this is sport we're talking about, and if you don't, then your team is going to suffer. And we've seen the Nigerian team on occasion fall short because of these things. So definitely needs to be.
It's deplorable. It's scandalous. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So so that experience, that was the main experience you got from the 2004 in Tunisia. I remember we came third in that Cup of Nations,
And then I was slotted in the third place match
against Mali, right?
Yes, and the whole Nigerians were wondering where did they put me all this while. The whole Nigerians, go back. What I'm telling you, go back, watch that game again. The whole Nigerians were wondering where did they put me.
Yeah, my brother.
I mean, these things, people, it's not, Boma, for me, I'm not wishing payback. I'm not requesting an evil result at the end of it. But you see, the seed that people plant, there is what we call fertilization. In fertilization, you have male and female fertilization. Right, Boma? You understand what I mean? We have we have male and female fertilization. And then in this fertilization, you look at when I remember Nigerian cases, it's annoying. It's something that I don't like to talk about. It's something I don't want to talk about. But at the same time, it's something that needs to be dealt with. Let's say this is a fruit. Now, the fertilization, you have male and female, which is called gametes. Then in that gametes, after the fertilization, it forms a zygote. In that zygote is formed, which grows, that zygote grow bigger and become an embryo. Now that embryo, after the fertilization, the embryo now becomes ovary. From the ovary, you get fruit. And then the ovary grows bigger, and then it becomes an ovus. And then from the ovus, you get what is called seed. From those seed, now fruit. Tell me, don't you think that if this continues, it's going to bring out a bad fruit?
Oh, of course it will. Of course it will.
And if things is done rightly, the same way the processing goes on fruit, so it's also going to bring good fruit. So we need to deal with this matter. And we have to deal with it from the root. We have to deal with it with the fertilization. We have to deal with it with the zygote. We have to deal with it with the ovary, with the embryo. We have to deal with it, and so that the seed has to be dealt with. Otherwise, if it's not dealt with, I'm telling you, go and mark it. We've been complaining for years, and we're still going to complain. The Nigerian football will not go anywhere.
Well, let me ask you this, Prince. From your experience, what if, for instance, let's just say hypothetically, you compete and become head of Nigerian Federation, how will you stamp out this practice? Because you've been a former international, you've been selected you play for clubs in Europe, you understand what's going on. How would you say, you know what, I need to fix this, and this is what I'm going to do?
First, is to begin to train people with their mind. You see, people are not trained. Nigerians don't have information. They work with he says, he does, she does. First, people will be trained. Secondly, a system will be set. When a system is set, it's clear and it's very plain. A system is set, and anyone that does not fit into the system is taken out. I'm telling you, it's taken out. A system will be set. And this is the way it works in Europe. System has set. Even in fact, FIFA president is proved. It's about to be proved now. Why? Because there's a system that is set. And if he does anything out of the system, he will be proved. So a system will be set. We are not going to overlook things because people are overlooking areas. People on top are not concerned in what is going on under. And most times, sorry to say this, Boma, for you to tell somebody to act right, you yourself have to act right. You understand? So it's a system that is totally messed up. And I know that we have good ones. I know that we have good ones, and I know that the good ones, we have good ones, but some of these good ones, sometimes they don't have a choice. They are even corrupt. The conspiracy has rubbed on them. So we have to set a system. We have to make it right. We have to look at the modern nation and look at the system. Nigerian football is no longer interesting. How can Nigerians be watching? They will sit down and be watching other leagues, and then the Nigerian league is abandoned. Do you know, Boma? Do you know the population we have in Nigeria? 200 million. How many population England has? Look at the we have the capacity, we have the ability, we have people with efficiency, the intelligence. What is stopping us? We have what is called population, which is the power. Population is the power. The reason why Premier League is making money because Nigerians are watching Premier League. If Nigerians stop watching Premier League, we begin to go bankrupt. Nigerians are watching Premier League and they contribute. Just the TV rights they buy enough sends lots of money to England.
No question. Yeah.
You understand? So you can imagine these people buying rights for the nation, buying rights for the Nigerian league, buying rights for the Nigerian football. They want to, but they want to see something good. I remember those days when stationary stores want to play against Shilotega, when BBC Lions come to play, when Jasper United, we will jump stadiums. We were young, we had to jump the stadiums. We jumped fence, we didn't have money, we have to climb fence. As young boys, the stadium will be full, crowded. Today, stadiums are scanty, empty.
You're right. You're right. I mean, when I was a young boy, the team I grew up on was NMB, New Nigerian Bank.
Good.
You know, and I used to go watch their games with Henry Wosu and those guys, and the stadiums were packed. Stadiums were packed. Yeah, I remember. But nowadays, there are players I work with right now in Nigeria that play in Nigerian leagues, and the most complaint I get is that they've gone 5, 6, 7 months, they haven't been paid their salary. And usually they are looking for money. So there's no motivation from the players to actually play the games because 9 times out of 10 they haven't been paid. So I think what can happen is if there is one club, sometimes you have a situation in a league where if one club comes up and an owner comes up with that one club, let's say someone decides to start a professional club in Nigeria, hires the right people, creates the right organizational structure. I had the former senior development manager at FIFA, Mike Pfister, here, and he was talking about, creating proper structures. His dad was Otto Pfister. You remember Otto Pfister?
Yes.
That coached Cameroon and Togo in the World Cup.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was talking about structures. If we have the right structures in place,
okay.
So maybe if you had one club that sets the example, then people might follow that example. But
one of the things, if you look at one of the areas where Nigerians need to consider, we need to use the population power. It's very important. We have to emphasize it. We have to use that area. Now, what do I mean? Check a club in history like Barcelona. The reason why Catalan he's requesting to be a nation of themselves. It's because they have a club like Barcelona. Barcelona is bringing so much dividend, so much revenue, so much dividend, so much income in that city. How did Barcelona form, Boma? Barcelona was formed by 155,000 people in a community. Yes.
Wow.
Each of them paid 150 euros as membership fee. And it amounted to 22 or 23 million euros. And they used it, 155,000 people, and they used it to form the club. Today, Barcelona makes more close to 5 billion in dividends every year. You can imagine such a club. Today, if Barcelona is playing, the stadium, restaurants, hotels, the city is booming, the nation makes money because of just a club. So the communities, we have communities in football. We have communities in Nigeria, we have neighborhood, we have societies, we have municipalities, a lot populated by people. Boma, let's take how much you think that let's be very practical now. How much you think a Nigerian family can pay as membership to develop their community and they will never be affected? How much? The smallest amount.
Per month?
Oh, a year.
A year?
Even the poorest person.
I'll say maybe 3,000 naira.
3,000 naira. Okay, let's bring it down to 2,000 naira. And each community in Nigeria, we have close to 200 to 300,000 people.
The numbers add up, yeah.
It's much more than. But I'm just, let's bring it down. So let's say 2,000 Boma times. Okay, how many thousand people you want? How many? Let's say times 3. Let's say 2,000 times 300,000 people, right? You know how much it amounts to? It will amount to 600 million
naira.
600 million naira. Do you know that 600 million naira will community will build stadium to get the best synthetic pitch, the best standard synthetic pitch costs you 40 to 50 to 60 million. This the top class standard.
And 600 million naira is $1.5 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will bring players from abroad. It will change the whole community. Even those poor people suddenly will no longer be seen poor because they become, it's their money that has brought that revenue. So that is the smallest amount. So you understand? So we have the solution, but you see, we have this poverty laid back mentality. There is this poverty laid back mentality that people don't just believe that things work, and that's what Europeans, that's what the Western world, that's why they are different from us. I'm just giving you I'm just trying to be very practical. You see, people are complaining. You don't even need a private person. Today, Iwaya will come, and then Iwaya will die. When Iwaya will die, the team dies. Abiola will come up. Abiola base will die. Abiola will die. Abiola base goes. How long would we
maybe, Prince, do you think maybe it's because people have not approached thousands of other people, maybe it's in a city or in a local government area, with this plan, and one person saying, I'm going to make sure I follow this plan till it's successful. You know, because what you're saying, let's use the local government. There are local governments in Nigeria that have 50,000, 150,000 people, households, right? And if you approach them with this plan, depending on what you're building, and you tell them, hey, look, let's create this, and you go house to house, some people might say no initially, right? Because they haven't seen it. Some other people will say yes. And then you go ahead and build it. And then the people that now see it will now say, okay, they want to be part of it. You know, sometimes in Nigeria, a lot of times when you approach people with a concept and it's abstract, it's not real, you know, it hasn't been built yet, they are very, very apprehensive because there's the 419 factor where people don't trust immediately. But then once they see it's done and they see a lot of hundreds, thousands of people coming, everyone now wants to become a part of it.
True.
So yeah, I think you're 100% right in that population is an asset, but someone has to be able to put the plan together, has to leverage it, has to approach the right people, has to mobilize those people, and then has to create it. And I think that's where the disconnect is. That's where the disconnect is. It's a really, really good idea. But depending on who you approach, I remember there was a time where I don't know if he still is, but JJ Okocha was the head of the Delta State
Yeah.
Football Association.
For him,
Yeah, that of course that's your former teammate. I'm sure if the opportunity presented itself and you gave him this idea, it's something that he might have tried to do. You never know. So I like it though. I like it a lot. I think it's very. And as a matter of fact, here's something. Here's an example I'll give you that people do currently with that idea that works. Churches, right? You go to some places in Nigeria and you see posters everywhere,
That's true.
everywhere. Revival, 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 everywhere. And guess what? If you go to that revival, thousands of people are there. You can't even park. It's crazy, right? And all these people are giving the church how much?
Yes, you can imagine. That's so
Yeah, yeah. So it can work. It's very doable, And I think, Ikpe, what state are you from? Akwa Ibom.
Yes, I'm from Etina State.
Yeah. If you go to Akwa Ibom and you get something done, get something in terms of football done, you can run for NFF presidency.
Yes, it's true, but to be very sincere, Boma, that's not my. I want to stay in the area of counseling, and you're very correct. Some of these areas sometimes speaking or trying to contribute from distance will not help.
Nah.
And like I said, that's one of also the major reason why I came into football management in dealing with players. I wanted to. It wasn't enough to be from distance and begin to help young players from the scammers and this fraudulent scout or agent.
Yeah, there are a lot of them out there. Yeah.
Yeah, coming into the business helps people like you, me. Coming into the business helps a lot too, but still, we can do more inside than doing than what we can do from outside. And also, I see people like Taribo West. He told me, I discussed with him. I know his integrity, how he also wanted to run for the Nigerian chairman of Nigerian football. He told me the things he encountered. They are not Boma. They are things that they are mind blowing. They are mind blowing. The threat, is it threat? Is it spiritual attacks? They are mind blowing. And that's to show you the heart of the people when people are set to do good. People just don't like right. They just don't like to see things that are running smoothly. They just want it to run in a dirty way, and that's how the nation is. But I'm hoping that those that are with right integrity will come into this area of administration and begin to turn things around.
No, I mean, I think you should definitely get involved. I personally, whenever I meet a former Super Eagle or even a current one, I say, listen, you have gotten the opportunity now because you have a microphone, you have a voice. If Mikel Obi was to get on, national television or go on Instagram and say, hey, here's what we're going to do, people will listen, right? So you have a voice. Look at DJ Drogba. Drogba is running for head of the Ivorian FA, right? So Yeah, I think I always tell them. I say, listen, you guys, people look up because you're a former Super Eagle. There are a lot of people that would look up to you and say, hey, this guy is someone that we used to watch, used to bring me happiness just watching him on TV. You know, if you get involved at some level, you could be head of the Akwa Ibom FA. At some level, people will say, wow, okay. And you start making a difference because sometimes from the national level, you know how Nigeria is. People sometimes think, oh, Nigeria is very fragmented, it's very diverse. So many different languages, so many different cultures. But if from like a state level, you get in, it's easier to manipulate, it's easier to control, easier to fix a lot of different things. And it could set as an example. So I think, even myself, everyone should get involved. Everyone, it's not enough to look. The whole thing, like you said, mentioned Taribo West was saying people are threatening. They can't threaten everyone, right? Yeah, they can't. So I think everyone should get involved. Everyone. I want to
So
sit on the island anymore.
everyone.
Yes, if we care about it, and I can tell talking to you, you clearly care about it. So we should all get involved, do something. I know you and I we've talked about some projects that we'll be doing in Nigeria, but that's private, right? But there's still a lot of other things that can be done. So but my hat off to you, definitely. I think, of course, watching you as a Super Eagle was great, but also on the football side, um, in terms of management and administration, there's a lot that can be done. And I think, all of us, because you have a lot of experience, you played in Italy, Sweden, China, there's a lot of experience that you can bring to the table. Um, so, no, absolutely. But speaking about it, when did you leave Reggiana and go to Italy?
I left.
I mean, go
Well,
to Sweden, because you left Reggiana and went to Sweden, right?
yes, no, I left actually to. I left Italy to China,
China, okay.
and then I played in China 3 seasons, and then I came back. I lost my place in the national team. I came back to Europe because I was told that I had to come back. I was actually the only player that was playing in Asia that was able to make up the Super Eagles list.
Mm,
So I came back to Europe because I wanted to
yeah.
get my spots back in Super Eagles. And then when I came back, I was tempted again. The Chinese money. I was tempted again by the time I began to receive the offers in Europe. So the offers were not actually interested for me. So I decided to go.
Wait, Prince. Make we talk about this Chinese money. So what? It's because you see a lot of players going to China. I'm a Chelsea fan, but almost the whole team went to China at one point. Ramirez, Oscar, Mikel, they went, gone. And I said they must be offering these guys a lot of money. So I beg, educate me please on this China money. What's going on in China?
It's a tax-free money. It's the money that they give to you. For example, let's say you receive two. Let's say you're getting two. Let's say you're getting 2,200 pounds, 200,000 pounds every week
Mm-hmm.
in England, and that 200,000 pounds, you should know that it's going to be taxed.
50%, yeah,
Yes.
I
So
believe.
basically 200,000 is in your contract, but you get 100,000.
Yeah.
But when the Chinese say 200,000, it's 200,000. And in fact, they don't say 200,000. Maybe you are getting 200,000. The Chinese will tell you, will give you 300 or 400,000.
Wow.
So they always give
Bonus.
you. They always give
Bonus.
you. And so you see, you can't resist unless you don't like better team.
So what about the level? What about the level in China? What's that like? Is it I mean, you are going from Italy. Italian football is much more difficult, right? Way
It's
more talented players.
the the Chinese football level is very is I mean I was surprised. I was very actually flabbergasted when I got to China. They technically strong and they are big. The Chinese, you look at them outside China, you think they are small, stature people. But when you get to the Chinese league, the boys are tall.
Wow.
They have good heights. So they are strong and they are technical. Maybe they might not be tactically sound like Europeans because the grassroots is not really emphasized on like in Europe. But when you talk about good football, the Chinese can play good football. They are fast. They are technically,
Really?
yes, and strong. And
But
also,
what happens with the national team? They never qualify for major
yes,
tournaments.
yes, their national team also too. Yes, it's a challenge because also too, like I said, uh, the players lack tactics,
Mm.
and this can tell on them when they play against countries like Japan and all that.
Yeah,
They,
yeah, yeah.
they
South
fall,
Korea. Yeah.
yes, where they fall into those areas because those ones they actually emphasize on grassroots, but the Chinese don't emphasize on grassroots. The Chinese they like already made players. They like established players and they pay money so much for established players. And you see the Koreans don't put in money so much for foreign players like the Chinese. But the Chinese put in so much money for foreign players because they just like already made players and established players. But the Japans and Koreans deal with the groom players.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So those things really tell in national team as well too. And that's one of the areas Africans are lacking when it comes to senior football as well too.
Okay. So so your time in China, you played for the club, you had a good time, of course. They paid you well, which is good. And then and then after some time there you now decided to go to guys in Sweden. How did
Yes,
that work?
I after my years in China, like I said, I came back to Europe. I had offer with Maccabi Tel Aviv
Okay.
that uh, Michael Menalo brought the deal for me. Yes, we were in contact, and before he got the offer in Chelsea,
Chelsea, yeah.
yes, he brought the deal for me, and it wasn't a long time contract. It was just a short period. It was for a year and 6 months, and I told him that he's done very well, but I wasn't interested that period for a short time contract. I was looking for a long term contract for the fact that I wanted my children or my family to settle down.
Yeah.
So I didn't just want to move my children to a place after 1 year I moved them again. So I wanted to at least minimum 3 years.
Yeah.
So then Maccabi Tel Aviv wanted to have me for 1.5 years. And then after then, plus 3, 4 years, then I said no directly. And I also got an offer in Cologne. And
Germany.
Cologne they were actually in relegation zone. They were fighting for relegation, and so they offered me quite a good money, but was not actually up to what I was earning in China. And so they offered me good money, and they now put a clause that if they go down to relegation, my salary will be cut to 50%.
Wow. Wow.
So I said no on that area. Bokon came also too. Bokun came, and Bokun made an requirement because the Europeans they like to get reference. Bokun made an requirement. Uh, they got a reference from another Nigerian player who is an older player. I will not say the name.
Yeah.
They got a reference from me, and I was shocked. And I just don't want to base my fact on what I heard, but Bokun told me that they didn't get a good reference from him about me.
Whoa.
Yes, I was shocked for a player like me that is so disciplined. So I guess maybe because of we play the same position and things like so sometimes I didn't get a good reference. But like I said, I don't want to base my fact on one-sided story. But that's what Bokun told me, and I said, "You guys don't worry. I will continue. I'll move ahead with my career." So I had Jungle English, they call in Turkey. I have Samsung
Turkey.
Sport,
That's awesome.
Samsung Sport. Then Ikeshorumu, I spoke with Ikeshorumu and he told me that they're expecting me they're expecting me in the club. And I was waiting for them to come to Holland. So we'll meet up in Holland. They had a preseason in Holland, and then I will join the team there in preseason, and then sign, do medical. And then I had FC Sedan of France, who just got promoted to the second league to League One in France. And so they wanted to fortify their team. So they requested for me and some other players. So I told them to, yes, so I was waiting for them. They were having their last 2 games. They already got promoted, but they weren't trying to secure their place. They already got promoted anyway. So they were just waiting for their last 2 games so they can settle down and officially invite me for medical. So while I was waiting for 2 weeks, the last 2 games, it takes 2 weeks. So Samson Sport is coming to Holland in 2 weeks' time. So I was in Nigeria. So I had a call from a friend of mine that we grew up together, who eventually is living in Sweden. One time, he called me and said, there's this team, guys, that wants to see you. And I said, Sweden, don't even talk about them. And he told me how much they are going to give me, the salary, and after tax. And I said, what? This is actually what I receive for match bonus. That's what I told him. I said, this is my match bonus for a week, for draw bonus. This is my draw actually bonus. And I said, are you kidding me? And you want me to come here? So I'm like, no. So I never knew there was a package for me, like sign off for that. So I never knew about that. So we were just talking about salary and things like that. So I said no. And then I stayed in Nigeria 1 week. So 1 week is left now. I said 2 weeks, right? So I had to meet up this thing. So 1 week has gone. So I've spent so much money. You know how it is in Nigeria when we go back home, friends, family. My house, people will, when I wake up 6 a.m., people are waiting. My gate, some people are waiting outside. My security is telling me that people are waiting outside. Some people are waiting in my sitting room. Some people are waiting in my guest sitting room. Some people are waiting in my dining room. Some people are waiting on my just outside my garden. People are just, and everybody is coming for problem. And so, Boma, you understand? So, literally, I can tell you many times when I go to Nigeria, I struggle to meet up appointment. By the time I come upstairs, when I leave my room, come upstairs, downstairs to the visitors parlor, I meet like 25 people. And I said, I will see you tomorrow. No. Meet me here. Or give me your account number. So by the time 5 minutes here, 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 I miss my appointment. So several times I've missed appointments several times, and because you don't want to be rude to people, you don't want people to see you as a snob. So this period, I remember that I said, oh, I have 1 week left. This is a good time to run away from Nigeria. Go somewhere else and do a holiday. And when I'm finished with them, and I no, thank you so much, I'm not interested. And then from there, I moved to the clubs that I actually had in mind. So that was my plan. That was why I planned to come to Sweden. So I said, okay. And I told the guy, I said, I will not pay for my ticket. They should pay for my ticket. And they called me and said, no problem, we'll pay. I said, okay, these guys are going to pay for my ticket. They're going to pay for the hotel I'm going to stay for 1 week. So 1 week, I will save money. I will no longer be spending the money I will spend in Nigeria. I will be in the hotel. I will train. So when I finish training with them, I just shake hands and said, I don't like the offer. And then I go. Off I go. So when I came, Boma, after 4 days, the coach liked me so much. His name was Roland Nielsen. He's the most capped Swedish player. He played in Premier League. He coached a Premier League team also too. Roland Nielsen, the most capped Swedish player. Yeah. He played 150 games and played US 94. He is the right back. He was their right back player. So I came, he welcomed me so much, and he had this experience to welcome professionals. He's been abroad, played in UK for so many years. So the warm welcome that I received from him made me begin to, like the place and things like that. So when I trained with them 4 days, I did so well, and he liked me so much. And he said to me, I really like you. I would like to have a discussion with you on negotiation on Monday. And so right in my mind, I said, oh, no problem. I know you guys, I said it to myself, I know you guys can't meet my needs. So on Monday, we sat in the office. Before on Monday, I went to the church. So I said, I can't find myself in Sweden on Sunday, and I don't go to church. Let me just look for a church to go. So I searched for an international church, English-speaking church. So I found one, so I took a taxi. I went to the church. So when I went to the church, I got inside. So they were just doing worship. So while they were worshiping, Boma, that was the first time I heard the voice of God very clear. And I heard it. This is where you're going to stay, and this is where you're going to live. So I opened my eyes and I looked beside me. The young man and the young woman beside me, they were just raising their hands up. And I knew that was the first time I heard the voice of God very audibly, loud and clear. So I started crying. I'm like, why is God trying to settle me down in a place that I'm not preparing for? And He knows that I will not say no. And why is He settling me down? So I cried. When the service was finished, I went outside, called a taxi to go back to my hotel, rang the taxi. So while I was ringing the taxi, that was when I got a call from Sedan, FC Sedan. Your flight is 8 a.m. tomorrow for medical. Right there. So I was quiet. And then the sport director, the agent was, and the sport director was like, are you there? Yes, I'm here. Why you not saying anything? I'm like, sorry, I'm not, I can't come again. He said, why? I said, I've chosen Sweden. And he said so many nasty words to me. How could you choose Sweden compared to France? You must be a very stupid player. And I said, well, I agree with you. Whatever you say, I understand your pain, but my heart is staying here. So the next day, it was on Monday, so I went to the office, and the chairman of the club brought a file and just flipped it and then put it over to my side on the table. I opened the file and I saw the offer. When I saw the sign-on fee, which was not included, I was flabbergasted. I was like, what? So I could get such here in Sweden. So it was a mind blowing. So they actually provided what I wanted. So that was how I stayed in Sweden. So that's when I began to understand that God had a plan for me. So I wasn't surprised later and my spiritual life and the calling and so but then God was just part, like a chapter that was open and open. So I see that He had a great plan for me. And that was how I stayed in Sweden and I had a wonderful time. And I loved the country and I was so pleased and so happy. It was a good place for family. And when my wife came here, she loved so much to settle down and call our second home, and Sweden was not less.
Wow. Wow. I'm glad it worked out for you because you spent time there and ended up playing there and retiring there. You know, everything worked out, which is good. So so now I think you're done with football playing. You're officially a scout, and I know you had mentioned your son also plays. You know, which is
Yes,
good. He's doing very well, which is also very good.
yes, yes. My sons, all of them play actually. All of them play. All of them play. All of them play football, and they are actually very good. They are talents. All of them. Four of my sons. One is a goalkeeper. Twins twice. Emmanuel plays. Shalom, 16 years plays, and then the twins, the last twins, 10 years old. One goalkeeper, and one striker. They play for the best academy and the best 10 years selected boys in Sweden. Mm, mm, yes. Are you there, Boma?
That's so cool. They're following daddy's footsteps.
I took from my dad,
They're
so
following
I
your
took
footsteps,
from
which
my
is
dad,
beautiful.
so,
Which is
so they took
beautiful.
from me. So I see
No,
it's a
it's been great, man. I tell you what, it's really been good having you. There are a lot of people, even the young players I deal with in Nigeria, they can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you very well.
Hello,
I hear you, Boma. I hear you.
Prince. Can you hear
I
me?
yes, I hear you.
I think you have some trouble on your end with the video. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I hear you. I can hear you. Can
Oh,
you
you can
hear
hear me
me?
now?
Yes.
I can hear you. Yeah, yeah. Okay, great.
Okay.
No, no, yeah, yeah. you were saying that they're following your footsteps, right?
I took from my dad. My dad was an ex-player, so it's a generation team.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is so cool, man. That is so cool. I tell you what, my brother, I have to come to Sweden to see you. Come to Stockholm,
Very well.
which you've educated me on. I didn't even know it was the capital of Scandinavia. I've been to Denmark several times, but I've never. And you know, it's funny. When I was in Copenhagen, I could just see Malmo across that bridge,
Yes, Sweden.
right, right. But I never crossed over to Sweden because I know some people in Denmark, so I go to Denmark. But but I'll come check out Sweden, man.
Definitely.
I'll definitely come check out Stockholm. My brother, thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. It's been fun having you, man. I tell you, it's been so much fun, and I
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Thank you, Boma. Thank you, Boma.